Good afternoon. Welcome to the Budget Committee meeting. I'm Jan Burdick, Chairman. We'll start with roll call, please.
Mrs. Burdick.
Here.
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Vanton.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mr. Rumpfelt.
Here.
Mr. Stockin. And Mr. Harris. 7 present.
And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, please?
Stocking. Ricky.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. County Treasurer Terry Ross will go over our sales tax report. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Yes, in your packet is the current sales tax report. We actually were in the black for this month compared to last month, so we were very happy to see that. We are still down about 2.7% from overall last year, but still got 6 months to go, so crossing my fingers. But we're still ahead of our budget projection that we put in for last year, so for 2024. So I'm hopeful.
Good, good. Any questions for Terry on the report? I am actually going to turn it over to Terry now, and she will introduce our presenter today from 3+1.
Okay. A couple months ago, Jan asked about a presenter for the committee about our investments for the county. So we have contacted 3+1.
Hold on, Terry.
Okay.
If you're going to talk, could I ask you to go out in the hall so you're not interrupting the meeting, Mr. Healy and Mr. Sear? Could I ask you to go out in the hall and talk so you're not interrupting me, please? Thank you.
So as I was saying, we contacted our investment company who works with us on investing our money. And we are happy to have with us today Tyler Frame, who is our representative for 3+1. When we originally started out and we came to the board and asked, it was necessary. Sorry about that. Not my fault, but sorry about that. So when we asked for permission to go out, several counties had done that and saw some great results. So we took it upon ourselves to contact them ourselves and came to the board and asked for permission to contract with 3+1. We originally had Garrett McDonald and Joe Rulson were here and give presentations. We haven't had one in a while, but we felt with talking to Jan, she wanted to do something different for budget committee, so we asked Tyler to come down. So right now I'd like to introduce to you Tyler Frame from 3+1, and Jenna, you can come up as well. And Tyler's got a short presentation that he can give to you today to explain how this works for us. It's worked great for us, and we're very happy to have them on board.
Thank you, Terry, for arranging it, and welcome, Tyler.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you all so much for having me. Again, I'm Tyler Frame from 3+1, and we're really honored to just give you all a brief update on the progress that Allegheny County and its Treasurer's Office with Terry and Jenna have made, particularly over the last year. You all really took a chance on us back in 2017, and just to give you a quick overview of who we are, CashVest is the program that 3+1 is providing to Allegheny County, and we are not a bank, we're not investment advisors, we don't take deposits or invest on behalf of the county. We are simply a third-party liquidity data provider. And what that means is we're basically providing information, technology, and benchmarking to the Treasurer's Office to help you all confirm that you're earning and saving as much as possible for the taxpayers. No doubt, one of your most valuable resources right now is your cash. We want to ensure that no matter what initiatives this board puts forward, you have the cash to take advantage of them. And the 3 main pillars of public finance that we really pay attention to in this order are safety, liquidity, and yield. Obviously, with interest rates where they are today, yield is really fun to talk about when you can earn over 5% on your cash. But we also need to make sure from a safety and liquidity standpoint that you not only have cash available to pay payroll, pay AP, pay for needed capital projects, but also that it's safe, that it's collateralized under New York State General Municipal Law Sections 10 and 11 guidelines. We really think that it's important to look at cash as a revenue and savings generating asset. And a couple areas that I just wanted to give Jenna and Terry some kudos on. Since we started working together in 2017, we have what's called a CashFest score. And you might have heard Jenna or Terry talk about this in the past, but it's a third-party benchmarking score to basically measure how the county is performing relative to its peers, not only in New York State, but nationwide. And you all have been able to improve your CashFest score from an initial score of 57 all the way up to a 93 out of 100. And believe it or not, you now have about 7 consecutive quarters of a score above 90, indicating you're in the top 10% of counties nationally for liquidity and cash management. So congratulations on that. A couple areas that I'll just highlight that we are using our data to help the county with. Again, ensuring that you have cash available to meet your expenditure needs. We do that through our independent stress test modeling. So what that means is we're looking at every single bank account and investment that the county has and analyzing every debit and every credit. So from the moment that you collect a tax dollar to the moment that same tax dollar is spent, what is its time horizon? How long is it available for? The reason that information is so vital today is where interest rates are at an all-time high for the last 20 years. We want to ensure that Terry and Jenna have the information and the confidence to put that cash to work to ensure that no matter where interest rates go over the coming years, you all have protected one of the county's most vital assets, and you're not susceptible to any interest rate volatility. So for example, our data shows Terry and Jenna how long they could put cash to work, and then also what are the marketplace benchmarks. Pairing those two pieces of information together is really powerful because you can confirm that you can put cash to work without sacrificing the ability to meet your expenditure needs. And from a budgetary perspective, you know what revenue you can count on. Because when you put cash into fixed income, it's a guaranteed source of revenue. Now, when we first started working with you all, the county's cash position was a little bit different than where it was today. And we identified about $35 million in cash that we consider strategic liquidity. That's cash that you could keep invested for various periods of time. And during that period, you had about $10 million invested. So looking at that compared to where we are today, your overall strategic liquidity has more than doubled to about $74 million. And we are helping Terry and Jenna put that strategic liquidity to work. And because of that, you all have increased your overall performance on cash by over 61 percentage points relative to benchmarks. So that's not just a 61 percentage point increase in performance, but relative to how interest rates have gone up, you all have outperformed that increase by 61 percentage points. That is really impressive. And over the last 12 months, it means that you've generated over $1.9 million in additional revenue that may not have been realized had you not been using the data and putting this cash to work. I think, Terry and Jenna, correct me if I'm wrong, your tax levy is about $30 million. That benefit alone is equivalent to over 6% of your annual tax levy. So when you can say to your taxpayers, we are using data and a third-party liquidity provider to help us offset over 6% of our tax levy, that's really powerful. Because no doubt, raising taxes is something nobody wants to do. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And we really commend you all for taking a leap with the CashFest program because, again, over $1.9 million in revenue has been realized over the last 12 months that may not have been had we not used this data. Another component to the CashFest program is working with your financial providers, collaborating with them, sharing marketplace data, and ensuring that no matter where interest rates are, your financial provider arrangements are copacetic from a fee perspective, from an earnings perspective. Most recently, we are working on implementing some enhancements with some of your financial providers that could generate an additional $47,800 annually. So having a third party come in and speak with your financial providers, sharing a little bit of data, sometimes they can feel more comfortable passing along a more advantageous relationship to the county because we're looking at relationships from financial providers all over the country. And we want to ensure that Allegheny County is performing as best they can. If we go to the second to last slide, I just want to really highlight the county's CashFest score history. So again, over the last 7 quarters, you have achieved a CashFest score of 90 or above, and that qualifies the county for our CashFest 90 Plus Club. Again, it puts you in the top 10% of counties nationally, and it looks at a lot of different components of cash management. Not all of them related to interest rates, but making sure that every dollar is working for you. So one component to the CashFest score is ensuring that every dollar is either earning interest or helping you offset your banking fees. Another component is ensuring that you're putting enough cash to work in the marketplace relative to what the CashFest data shows you can put to work. That way, you're not susceptible to any interest rate volatility in the future. We also look at your overall performance on cash. We want to ensure that relative to marketplace benchmarks, you are performing in line with them. And you all have done a great job at strategically putting cash to work, utilizing the opportunities in the current marketplace to improve performance on county cash. We also look at things like, what is your check to ACH ratio? Ensuring that we're utilizing all available technology to move away from checks, which are the #1 source of bank fraud nationally, and leveraging technology to use electronic forms of payment that not only are safer and more secure, but also can provide revenue generating opportunities for the county. And then the last component is your investment policy. We collaborated with the county over the last couple of years to ensure that your investment policy matches New York State General Municipal Law and all of GFOA's up-to-date best practices, because we want to ensure that you have a framework from a cash management perspective to not only ensure that safety and liquidity picture, but also ensure that we have all of the investment options available at our fingertips that are approved. In terms of next steps, we're going to continue to collaborate with your financial partners. We're going to continue to prepare for changing interest rate environments and the county's changing cash position. You all have a lot of initiatives going on right now from a capital project perspective, and we want to ensure that you not only have the cash to pay for those programs and initiatives, but that we're also doing everything we can to protect and preserve the cash that you have today, so that we can continue to provide residents new programs and new infrastructure without having to raise taxes. We also want to continue to leverage new technology that becomes available, ensuring that Allegheny County is using every piece of technology to ensure safety and liquidity and make sure that you all are following every GFOA best practice. Would welcome your questions. I'm not sure if I missed anything, Terry or Jenna, but really appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today. Again, thank you for your partnership and your support. We're really excited about your success. We love talking about Allegheny County because you all have really been the pinnacle, especially in New York State, for cash and liquidity management, and we appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tyler. I just want to make a comment that I know Terry and Jenna won't pat themselves on the back, so I'm glad that you patted them on the back because they deserve it, because this was very enlightening to hear what they've done, so thank
Yeah,
you.
They do deserve a pat on the back.
Any
Thank
questions
you
from
so
anybody
much.
else? Debbie?
Yeah.
Deborah, sorry.
I also want to say that this was very, very exciting to hear, and kudos to you guys for doing this. Did I hear you say that checks were more likely to be compromised than digital electronic transfers?
Yeah, check fraud is the #1 source of bank fraud nationally.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And
Can I just take a minute too? I'll highlight on that for a second.
Yeah.
That we have been working with that for several years now, trying to transfer people using checks versus ACH. And as you know, we've asked all of you to also have ACH payments. We are well over, probably 65% of our vendors do ACH at this point. So we are whittling down that amount of checks we have out there in the world, because yes, they are the #1 fraud. And it's hard to get some people to change, but we welcome any change that you want, anytime anyone wants to change to ACH. The thing about ACH too is that you get it sooner. You don't have to wait, go to the bank, you don't have to wait for it to clear, and you can get your payment right away. So I'm a big pusher for that.
yeah, well, and so then you followed up and said it's a source of revenue? Explain that one to me.
Yeah, great question. So there are new technology programs from a disbursement point of view. So when the county is paying its vendors, for example, there are tools and technology that can allow you to pay a vendor through an electronic format, but also earn a rebate on that spend. Kind of like how if you use your credit card at a restaurant, for example, you may receive a certain number of points per dollar spent. This is a similar type of program where if you're paying a vendor through something called like a virtual card or a P card, there might be an opportunity to earn a rebate on that money that you're going to be spending regardless.
I can elaborate on that as well. We recently, in the last 6 months, have been working towards a P card that gives us a rebate. We had an old system that we used. We are going to a new system. We've rolled out a few of those credit cards or purchase cards right now, and we did receive our first rebate, I want to say, last month. So we are working to do that as well.
So is this something that all businesses can take advantage of?
The answer is very likely yes.
Okay.
We primarily work with municipalities, but we do work with some.
But this is something that businesses, all businesses,
rebates?
and
Oh, yes.
rebates and electronic, I mean,
Absolutely.
they should be moving into the 21st century. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Barnes?
Yes, thank you for your information. You're, what is it, 3+1, the name?
Yes, sir.
How many counties do you represent or work with
We're working with just over half the counties in the state right now.
in the state?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any outside of the state also?
We do. We're in about 17 states right now. We're actually a partner and endorsed by the National Association of Counties and also NISAC. So the National Association of Counties has been introducing us to partnerships like the New York State Association of Counties. So we are working nationally.
So the information on all the counties in the country, how do you access that information?
So we have an online portal called the CashFest portal, and each county that we serve has their own specific secure login. So Allegheny County login is just Allegheny County. Everything is split up amongst each county. There's no crossover in between.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to note that, National Association of Counties, better known as NACO, I believe we are the featured county. If you go to their website, I think you see a video of Terry. It might attribute it to Allegheny County, Maryland, but that is our county treasurer on there. And they are also a NISAC partner, and I know Terry's done podcasts on this and the benefit that we've received. This is just the first time we've had him into our board to have your attention specifically for this issue.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a few in New York State. Genesee County, Livingston County, I believe. There's, I would say, probably a third of the counties that we work with qualify for it. So we work with Suffolk County. I don't personally serve them, but I believe they're very close. You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you talk a little bit about fund balance? And, you know, that's a subject of frequent conversation about what's an appropriate level of fund balance as compared to overall budget. So you see a lot of different counties. You probably see a lot of different fund balances as a percentage of overall budget. Do you provide recommendations to finance people about what your firm, when you talk about those three, right, the safety, liquidity, yield, or whatever it was, what you consider to be an appropriate fund balance, not considering what the state may consider an appropriate amount?
So, great question. To be totally candid, we look at cash from a slightly different perspective than the fund perspective. We look at it from a treasury and liquidity point of view, which is a little bit different because we're looking at it the way that your bank looks at your cash. So, not specifically looking at funds. I will say typically we look to GFOA for their guidance, and usually it's around 15 to 20%. But we can get back to you on more updated figures for that.
So when you say you don't look at particular funds, you don't look and see if something's necessarily allocated or if it's restricted, if a restricted fund or.
No, they aren't really looking at our fundamental financial accounting records. They are looking at the cash we have available to invest. And cash is different than fund balance. So cash is what you have available throughout the year to pay your bills, and it really has nothing to do with your fund balance. Because fund balance is not only cash, but is liabilities, is, you know, accounts payable, is encumbrances, is reserves, and cash is just cash. So
only something that's liquid enough to invest on any given day?
correct.
Okay.
And then they review all our bank accounts as far as, you know, and believe me, I mean, Tyler will tell us, say, hey, you've got $100,000 sitting here that you can invest for 5 days to get a little bit of money on. You know, where we might say, well, we're gonna need that next Wednesday when they have audit, we're gonna need that $100,000. But, you know, he's made us take that step and say, okay, we will invest that for 5 days or whatever it is, or we'll put it in an account that gets a lot more yield on it. What's interesting about the time that Tyler and 3+1 stepped in is interest rates were really not great. You know, you remember I was coming here and we were making 1.1 or 0.5 on an account. And to see what we've been able to do, not only because of what we're doing, but because of what the market has done and what we've been able to accomplish. I mean, it's been $6 million we've raised for the taxpayers of this county that they would not normally have gotten. So, I mean, we learned to be more aggressive. You know, I obviously have been here a long time, and I come from the point where we had to dig ourselves out of the hole and didn't have enough money to pay audit every time you guys passed a thing, and we were piecemealing the money. Because of the things we're doing now with our liquidity and our cash available, we've been able to not have that situation, you know, back again. So, you know, it's a hit or miss thing, but I don't want you to confuse fund balance with cash because it's totally different.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I asked that same question, maybe in a slightly different way, but we've always had, obviously, liquid assets. We've always had cash, and they've always been invested. It's just using CashVest has really raised the level on strategy and education, I think, for the entire finance department on how best to invest to get the higher yields. So, as Terry mentioned, we're doing a lot better in these past few years, partly because we've used CashVest. And I think the entire staff down there that's been working with them have really learned a lot on how to form those strategies.
The one thing that has really helped is, you know, this is another tool in our tool belt. You know, 20 years ago, we really only had CDs to invest money in. We didn't really have much else, you know, they give us a 30-day CD. That was great in the 90s, believe me, when we were getting 9.9% on a CD for 30 days, that was awesome. But those days didn't last forever. So, that's really the only tool we had. We have branched out into investing in treasury bonds now, which, treasury bonds got us through that bad little section of time when we had treasury bonds out there for months and months, and we were getting a really good yield, so we missed the bad part of that, and we're able to have that investment in a higher yield. So it really has been great. Tyler's been a great team, so.
Yes, Mr. Sear?
Yes, Mrs. Ross, I'm assuming the state regulates who you can and cannot put fund balance into for investment purposes? Like you couldn't go to your local bank and draw an average CD or an interest
No,
rate?
we invest with our local banks. We are allowed to do that. We invest in treasury bonds, and there are a couple other items that we can invest in, but you cannot invest in everything.
I think
So-
that's great news that we turned a $6 million, interest payment in a year. That's
That
terrific.
is not in a year. That is over the time that we've worked with Tyler.
Thank you.
Any other questions today?
I guess was just one last quick one, just
Yes.
so we've got it covered for budget time. What's the fee structure like? How's it based? And I know it's worth it, but how's that all work?
Yeah, so it's a flat annual fee. It's based on your budget size, $24,380 annually. Over the last 12 months, that is over 79 times return on investment compared to the benefit provided.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
He was ready for that one.
He was- Anybody else have any questions today? If, Mr. Healy?
It may be covered this and I missed it, but the state tells you what you can and cannot invest in, is that correct? Yes, so they don't let you get wild and crazy where we might get a higher return on something. Thank you.
No, we don't have gold in the vault, if that's what you're asking.
They do have different rules for the New York City than they do for the rest of the state, though, like they do so often.
All right, thank you, Tyler, so much. We really appreciate your coming in, and this was a great presentation.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sure. And thank you, Terry and Jenna. Appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you for your time today.
Yep, you're wet. All right, we will move on to unfinished business. And any new business? I just want to say I failed to report in the Human Service Committee that the Oster the Aging Picnic is August 6th. I was asked to remind everyone, and I forgot, so I'm going to remind you now. And the question was raised, is the board meeting going to be changed for the rain date? I don't believe that is going to happen, or is it? The rain date would be August 7th, which is a Wednesday.
We had talked about that, but then I think maybe we just forgot about it. So we're going to lock in. We're locked in at this point, right?
We are.
Yeah, okay.
So it will not be changed, correct?
It's not going to rain.
Okay. It's not going to rain. That's, okay, all right. Good of the order? Motion for adjournment.
Rick, you move.
Longfellow, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.